You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how every small decision can add up to create an opportunity. Or, in some cases, crushing failure. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And our guest today is previous Fandom Corner feature, Derek Van Dyke.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome, Derek.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited. I've been waiting a long time for this episode.
Yeah, I would say there are a few people who might have responded faster than Derek, but like once I knew going into season 3 that we were going to have Derek on and I sent him the list, like within seconds he picked Rannoch. Like he didn't even think about it.
Had to happen.
We're really happy to have you on. I think the first time I featured you on Fandom Corner was just your stream, and then I think at a separate occasion we shared the weird Mako glitch where it was bouncing, and then you edited Pony by Genuine over it.
Yeah, the lowrider Mako. I love it.
It's so good. It's one of those moments where it's just between your facial expression and the Mako. It's just kismet. But why don't you tell the folks who are tuning in a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a kind of casual podcaster and streamer. None of this is my real job. I say I day job, but I night job in television news. So podcasting and streaming is very much a for fun and for socialization kind of thing for me. I stream games for fun. I, up until very recently, was a producer and an editor. Well, the producer, the editor, and a co-host on Super Deluxe Gamescast, which a lot of you know is just SDGC. I am taking a break from all of that as I chill out before my wedding, and also prepare another podcast I'm working on, which is something you're very familiar with doing, Matt.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'll probably be back to SDGC soon enough, but for right now, if you were to tune into them, I am not on it. So,
well, that's good. We wouldn't want someone listening to this and then going there and panicking that you weren't there.
Yeah, but they're all good people, and I still put my seal of approval on SDGC. It's my show. I'm just not there for right now. So,
fair enough. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with Mass Effect? I've shared with the audience that you recently replayed the entire trilogy, but why don't you tell us how you got started with Mass Effect?
Yes, so Mass Effect was actually the first game I played on my Xbox 360. I got an Xbox 360. I used Xbox 360 for Christmas, like 2 years after it had come out, something like that. And I got Mass Effect was one of 2 games I got with it. The other being Halo 3. Never played Halo. I don't play games online, so that just went in a bin, unfortunately. But so Mass Effect was my first HD gaming experience, and I'm somebody who grew up on like Star Wars and Star Trek and on kind of the space operas. So it was immediately at home to me. And I deeply love these games. I played through each one as soon as it came out. And then, recently decided to restream the entire trilogy in a massive marathon, like several months long set of sessions to kind of see how everything held up compared to my memory. And it was just a really good experience to kind of go back and revisit that. And of course, now the trilogy is being remastered for current gen systems. Well, no, last gen now.
Yeah, technically.
For most of us current gen, we can't get the new systems.
Yeah, right?
I'm really excited to share that with my fiance because she loves the idea of getting into Mass Effect, but like I've had the games on PC and they haven't been available on current systems. So this will be her first opportunity to really sit in and dig in. And I love that. I love sharing Mass Effect with people because it's so personal and so personalized as you play through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole ethos of this show. And it's funny, like, I'm hoping for the same thing. Like, my spouse, Sarah, also has wanted to play the Mass Effect games. And, like, I, for a while in the early part of our relationship, had them on 360 still. But, I mean, you've played Mass Effect on the 360, not recently, but you remember what that's like. And you played through it recently on the PC, which isn't that different quality-wise. And, like, it was just, she had never played, I don't think she'd ever held a 2 analog stick joystick controller before that moment. And so, like, trying to aim and shoot was so foreign to her. And I couldn't get the digital comics to work. I wanted her to jump to Mass Effect 3, which is more forgiving. But this, the Legendary Edition is coming with those comic book DLCs, the Dark Horse, like, game skippers. Yeah. And so I'm excited for her to experience some of the story. And I don't know, I'm going to try to talk her into watching me play through some of it. so she can try it. But hopefully with like the cover improvements and some of the UI improvements.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the improvements to the original. I think that'll fix the only issue that Martha had when she tried a little of Mass Effect 1. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. It looks promising, but who the hell knows when it comes out, right?
Right.
It's still not going to be gayer, the thing we really want.
I know.
But-
They're not going to restore the Caden romance. So, oh well. It is what it is. It is what it is.
That's true.
It's life.
We'll take what we can get, which isn't that much, unfortunately.
Right.
But there's always Andromeda, and I can't wait for us to get there.
Yeah, I'm still have not played. I assume you'll want to come back for that season as well, Derek.
We'll see. I actually haven't played Andromeda.
Oh, really?
But it's on, EA Play Game Pass for PC, so I guess I've got no excuse at this point.
I mean, you might as well stream that. I feel like that's a fun game to come back to streaming for, because
You're not allowed to watch if Derek does it.
yeah, it's true. We will watch it.
Ooh, there's a point. I should put it off. See?
Well, obviously, you're a diehard fan of the Mass Effect series. We'd like to talk about the ideal choices that we made in our initial playthroughs, our penultimate or ultimate playthroughs. And so, first off, are you more of a Paragon player or a Renegade player? I feel like I know the answer, but I would like for you to say for MJ and the listeners.
I am broadly a Paragon player, as most people are, it turns out. But that's not to say I did not like the occasional Renegade line or interrupt where it felt appropriate. I like some of the snark of Renegade, but sometimes the Renegade dialogue, I can't be mean to people in video games. I when there's nothing on the line, I simply cannot do it. So
It's like stepping on a bug simply to step on it.
right, like no, I'm not like that. That's horrible. I can't steal in Skyrim. I just can't do it. That's not who I am.
Oh, I have no problem with that.
Somebody on Twitter was asking a question about like, it was Austin Walker talking about like, what would you do if you were in a time loop? And I'm just like, I can't even be mean in a video game. Like, I'm not gonna wild out in a time loop like Groundhog Day or something. No.
What is the class that you prefer to play as?
So I've played as Infiltrator and as Vanguard. I was originally an Infiltrator, and then I played Vanguard through the replay that I did recently on stream. I think I found myself much preferring Vanguard. There's something about those biotic powers are just so fun to use, but I don't want to give up the shotgun. So, plus that biotic charge. I mean, there's a clip I've got on my channel of me using the biotic charge for the first time on somebody, and it knocks them into the air and they explode into what I describe as beef stroganoff.
Yeah. That's good
Juiced
stuff.
him.
It is. With the Arachnite Queen, did you rescue her or decide to commit genocide?
Rescue her. Like we've established I'm not a psychopath here. And that feels like an easy question to me for most people, because like you get to the Arachnite Queen and it becomes obvious to me that this isn't an evil species. This is, if you give a shit at all about conservation, you're going to let the last and good member of the species go to repopulate. So
What about your Vermeer survivor?
that was Caden. I do not like Ashley. I do not judge people who preferred her to Caden, but when you put it up to a choice, one of these two people isn't a racist.
That's valid. Like, I saved her for my reasons, but I completely understand.
And I understand that the racist thing is like, it's a little reductive. It's definitely more complicated than that, but
I mean, also for me, as a recent Caden convert and lover of, it is Derek we have to thank for my obsession
for bearded Caden.
For bearded Caden, which I've
Oscar Isaac looking hottie. Yes.
Do you save the council or kill the council? Because they deserve it, honestly.
They do, but the devil you know beats the devil you don't.
That's fair.
So I did begrudgingly save the council.
What about the counselor appointment, the human counselor? Was that Anderson or Udina, or did you not choose?
Well, one of these two people is Keith David, and the other is the most face-punchable, sniveling rat fuck maybe in the entire franchise. So I picked Anderson. And I had to stop for a solid 5 minutes every time Udina was on screen during this stream just to lob insults at him. I hate that man.
He is pretty completely terrible. Your Rex status. So did you work things out with Rex, or did you pop a cap in his ass and move on?
Rex is my boy.
Yeah.
So I worked things out with Rex. I would have been heartbroken if I screwed that up, for sure. Rex is one of my favorite characters, so.
You have good taste.
Yeah.
Shepherd.
What about the Geth? Did you choose to kill or rewrite them in the Heretic Station?
See, that's a hard one.
Yep.
But
That's why it's on the list.
I know. But both times, I think I just edged out with rewriting the Geth.
Yeah. We like asking that question because the
Yeah.
choice is so difficult. And
Rewriting the Geth is definitely like an ethical quandary, but like if you're already in the state of killing them versus rewriting them, it's kind of, if you're viewing it from the moral quandary perspective, I view it as the lesser of two evils. So
that's legit.
Also, they have a different perspective on what it means to rewrite them.
yeah.
Like, it's not quite the same as how an organic views it, so...
Yeah, I tried to view it more like brainwashing, like when I put myself through that decision, than rewriting a computer, since they're supposed to be sentient, so...
Mm-hmm.
With the collector base in the second game, did you keep it or tell the elusive man to go fuck himself?
Oh, Martin Sheen can go fuck himself. President Bartlett was not getting his hands on the collector base.
Well done.
What about your romance throughout Mass Effect 1?
So, my first time playing through, I romanced Liara. And then Mass Effect 2 came along, and Tali became a romance option. And I actually replayed Mass Effect 1 to romance Nobody, so that I would not be cheating if I romanced Tali.
Yes.
And of course, my second time through on stream, I knew ahead of time not to romance anyone in Mass Effect 1. Tali is we love her so much.
I love her too.
She's great.
She's my babe. I have a lot of feelings about her.
I've already committed on stream that so I tend to lean more femshep before this podcast, but supposedly the creation options for everybody are better in the remaster. If that's true, and I can make someone who more closely resembles myself instead of the monsters we have to create half the time,
Yeah.
then I might play as male shepherd again first and go out and romance Tali, which I've never done before. But yeah, like
I like the Tali romance. It's sweet.
It's sweet, but she's also like they kind of play with like she's innocent, but she's not innocent. Like it's okay for her to kind of want it, right? And to kind of take charge when she feels like it. And it's this very like, I don't know, it's very modern and very progressive and very sweet, and it reminds me a lot of the relationship I have with my own fiance. So
Aw.
Aw.
other than the part where nobody gets sick. So.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, I guess now is a great time to get into a summary.
All right. It's finally time to put an end to the Geth-Quarian conflict, one way or another. Our squad, with Legion's help, fights their way through the Reaper base to help the Normandy target it for an orbital strike. But unfortunately, that just made the Reaper napping under the surface extremely angry. Instead of escaping, Commander I Have a Death Wish Shepherd decides to take the Reaper on foot. Once the Reaper is down with the help of the entire Quarian fleet, it's time to make a decision. Let the Geth die, or gift them with the Reaper code that would help them obtain true intelligence and free will. What did you decide?
I like the bit about Commander I Have a Death Wish Shepherd. The funny thing is you're saying it now, but like we did Leviathan so long ago at this point. I'm like, dude jumped in a rickety mech that might not be airtight to go to the bottom of the ocean.
My boyfriend was so mad at me when I did that. I'm sure he will not care if I try and take on a Reaper on foot.
It's just like what like there are definitely moments that I've noticed this playthrough that I haven't before where the crewmates look at each other when Shepard makes decisions like
Yes.
what is he
like
doing?
when Shepard decides to drive a 92 Nissan Stanza into the fucking abyss.
It is completely out of character for Garrus and Tali to not be like, Shepard, no.
Yeah, right.
Stop it.
Like, it shouldn't just be Legion being like, we're building a consensus on if this is a batshit idea or not.
Before we get into the core of the mission, what in your opinion, Derek, is the significance of this mission? What does it mean to you?
So, Mass Effect has done a good job up to this point in kind of building up the Quarians while giving you limited actual access into their world. I mean, Tali is, obviously one of your main characters in both 1 and 2, and you see a lot into Quarian culture and history through her. And in 2, you briefly get to go on to the actual flotilla, but the chance to actually get involved in this massive looming conflict that's kind of the origin to a lot of conflict in the Mass Effect world prior to the first game, it's definitely, I think, up there with like Tuchanka in terms of like, this is one of the biggest moments that you were inevitably going to head towards.
Yeah. And like in the last mission with Dave Grimo, we talked about how my perspective of the Reapers, or not the Reapers, I mean, that's changed too, but like of the Geth has changed so much as an adult, because as a kid, you're just like, they're robots. We got to kill them. Like,
they're bad robots.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you realize, the Quarians did some war crimes, didn't they? Yeah. They sure made them some humanitarian crises.
It's just like
that's not cool.
We were talking about in the last episode how I think that the handling of the Geth through the 3 games is one of the best cultural arcs in the entire game. And I would say second to that is the Krogan, who also have an incredible story arc. But like the Geth they go from mindless enemy to who you want to side with almost. And that's revelatory, when someone can make an enemy someone you completely and truly sympathize with.
Put a pin in that, because
yeah, I know, that's true. All right, well, before we get to the mission it's at hand, MJ and I have a few check-ins on the ship before we get off. The first of which is Admiral Zen, who everybody hates and is a terrible person, is arguing with Tali over using ships for salvage or for life pods. And like, I don't know that I even fully listened to Zen. I sided with Tali.
Never.
It just didn't matter. I was like, whatever Zen wants, it's probably a bad idea. Tali, you're right. Let's go.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Zen badly wants to commit another war crime. She's just like, I crave sweet, sweet violence, and I wish to destroy an entire culture.
It's really quite impressive. It's quite impressive how Admiral Zen still manages to not be the most bloodthirsty pro-war crimes admiral on the board.
Yeah.
Unlike with Admiral Garrel, Zen's point of view is just, I can't back it. I cannot create a viable argument for why we should go for the salvage over checking on the live ships. Like, people could possibly be alive. We should probably make sure the salvage will be there.
Yeah, that is such a horseshit question, to be honest with you. There's no way.
Like, what's the point of fighting this war for people that you're letting die?
Yeah, Admiral Zen is definitely more, like, flat out evil, and Admiral Garrel is more idiot.
Yeah.
Like, neither of them have goodness in them, but at least Admiral Zen has brain cells, which have yet to be scanned in Admiral Garrel at this point.
Legit.
So we both back Tali,
yes,
right?
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no way.
Also, I didn't want to sleep on the couch. Like,
That's true. That's true.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's totally true.
I want to highlight this conversation between James and Joker discussing mobility aids.
Yeah. That was a really great chat.
I liked it. James was inspired by seeing Quarians in their environmental suits and thinking, oh, can't we make something like that for Joker? And Joker reveals, well, they do make something like that. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's not useful for me or my job, and it would actually make it so much harder for me to do my job. And what you need is the best pilot, not a good pilot.
Yeah, he talks about how it's essentially wearing a mech suit and he can't feel anything in the ship that he needs to for orientation. And what I like also about this conversation is that like Joker is pretty sincere through most of this conversation, and so is James, which is, I love seeing that. I love my himbo James. But like then Joker at the end is like, plus, I mean, have you seen Tali's hips? There's no way I could wear a suit like that.
Yes.
Or something along those lines. And it's like, I love that.
Well, because he got so vulnerable so fast, he's like, oh no, I have to stop this.
I know exactly what that feels like. I don't do that at all.
Gotta course correct on that joke, otherwise people might take you seriously.
Also, I really appreciated that when Joker compared it to wearing heavy armor and how it messes with his balance, James is like, I wear heavy armor and my balance is perfect. Well, you crashed the last shuttle that you flew, so...
Yeah, it's like James really means well. He really is a himbo. Like, he means well, but he has blank spots in his brain for, like, those moments where, like...
Well, and I think it's a great example of, like, most able-bodied people do not necessarily consider, or even if you are doing your best to be considerate, you simply do not have the life experiences to understand where somebody who has a disability is coming from. Like, from James' perspective, it's completely logical that one of those suits could help Joker.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, Joker simply has the life experience to know why that would not work. It's not offensive or a faux pas on James's part. He simply did not know. But I still think it's great to present it in that way.
And then Joker proceeds to be the absolute worst by questioning Shepard's perception of reality and like, what if you're still in the simulation? Oh, shut up. I hate you.
I hate that sort of question.
Yeah, like, because now, of course, I'm going to have nightmares for 3 days.
What if you're in the Matrix? Well, then it doesn't matter because I'm here and the relationships I've built with other people are still real. Like,
yeah.
I'm not playing this game.
An actual deep down nightmare that I have. My husband used to, like, jokingly say to me, my wife is a robot. You are a robot. Just, like, very insistently. And over time, I was just like, okay, that joke needs to stop right now.
What if I am? Don't do this.
Because it is not funny anymore.
I played Binary Domain.
And now I'm going to have existential horror about it. Thank you. To his credit, he did stop the second I told him it was becoming a problem. Best husband. Okay, who else do we have to talk to? We have to talk to James and Javik in the mess hall.
Ugh, like James is really trying here. He wants to.
He's trying so hard.
Javik is just. We've talked a lot on this podcast, Derek, that Javik was cool space alien when we were younger. Now he's imperialist nightmare, and we hate him.
Oh my god, no kidding. Man, second time around was rough on my opinion of Javik.
And, like, James is trying so hard to connect. It is not going well. Javik tells a fake joke, and James is like, oh, I get it, because I want you to feel good and not, like, you know, you're displaced in time. I want you to feel like you fit in. I'm trying so hard. And Javik's like, yeah, I made that up, and now the joke's on you. And I'm just like, Javik.
Stop it.
Ah! It's the worst.
Yeah, he's terrible.
You're not good at comedy, my dude.
He's so mean.
He is the worst. Before we get to your special interaction with Ashley, I do want to say that there was nothing with Caden other than he was completely unhappy with my decision to go inside a virtual intelligence, then asked me about it, and he's like, wait, no, don't tell me, because then that's all I'll be thinking about, and I can't finish my Spectre paperwork. And I tell him anyway, and then he's like, thanks. Well, now I'm going to be thinking about that.
Poor sweet Caden. During my conversation with James and Javik, James said something that threw me for a loop. He was cooking in the mess hall. He's like, oh, I had a craving for huevos rancheros. I have no idea what kind of eggs these are. It'll probably be fine, right? And then he says, let Ashley know I have some eggs for her. She's a great girl when she opens up. And I was like, did you? And Ashley? What? What just happened? I rushed over to Ashley's room to be like, excuse me, ma'am. Poor Ashley is just curled up on the floor, writhing in pain. Apparently, she and James drank an entire bottle of something the night before, and she is completely hungover and miserable, and I felt so bad for her. I'm just like, oh, this poor child. Oh, James, you're such a bad influence.
I mean, yes.
I felt
Most military types are, and I say that as somebody who's, I mean, one of my best friends is John. So
yeah,
what does
true.
that tell you?
But yeah, you can either be like mean to her and be like, clean yourself up, blah blah blah. I chose to be like, aw.
Oh, honey.
This poor little baby have a headache. Is it time for the fire alarm now?
Oh, nice.
And it was that moment that I've been waiting for this entire time, of this camaraderie between Shepard and Ashley. And it's really upsetting that this is the first and I believe only scene we get like this, because, you know, some people struggle with alcoholism, so this probably wasn't the best scene.
Yeah.
Just wasn't the best. But it gives you that sense of sisterhood between FemShep and Ashley, which I really appreciate, which I really value. And I wanted more scenes like that, more conversations between them to really foster that relationship. Because it was one of the reasons why I chose her over Kaden to begin with, because of that sense of loyalty and sisterhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, they let that really build up in 1 to do nothing with it in 3, it seems. But
Yeah.
this is at least a speck of it, which is better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, and they should have done more with it. But
Agreed.
at least I got to make fun of her for being really drunk and hungover. Yeah. And then we have Legion trying so hard to be helpful with Liara and Garrus, with differing results.
Yeah, with Garrus, so you walk in and Legion is trying to tell Garrus how to calibrate the gun, essentially saying that you could get this percentage out of it if you did this. And Garrus, without breaking a sweat, is just like, oh, really? Well, actually, I got this percentage. And Legion is like, how? How? It's just, he baffled the robot, and I love it.
It's so smooth. That's my man. That's my man's right there. Meanwhile, poor Liara is just like, really? Nothing about the Protheans? Absolutely nothing?
All of Geth existence and knowledge, and you've got nothing. And Legion pretty much says, I am an isolated unit that has some, but not everything. And so I can't help. Sorry.
Legion was more like, I'm sorry, you know as much as I do.
Which is a mood.
Like, you were officially on the same page.
It's like earlier in the game where Garrus is like, yeah, I'm the foremost Reaper expert. Lol. I fought one, so I guess I know something.
I mean, technically he fought 2.
That's true. Yeah, technically he did. Well, I guess let's jump into the mission. So, like, this is the mission I remember the most beats from, because I think it impacted me the most besides the Morden mission, which we've already covered. And I think it's because the more emotional the mission is, the more it resonates with me. Secret to nobody, I'm a giant mush. And so, like, you know, we'll get there, but I was tearing up at the end of this mission. So, like, that's, I think, why it resonates. But the start is pretty standard for a Mass Effect mission, you know, debrief on the shuttle and then shoot some stuff, like, which the last few hadn't been. So it was kind of fun to jump back into that.
I want to talk about the debrief on the shuttle real quick, because we're starting to see more emotion come from Legion, and it's being expressed through body language as well. When Legion is talking about having the Reaper code still, they're very reluctant to talk about it, and when it does come up, they bow their head, which is a gesture we signify with shame. And Shepard even goes as far to say, like, you were ashamed, and Legion goes, oh no, that's not something that Geth experience. Like, that does
that
not
can't
factor
possibly be the case.
And I'm just like, sweetie,
We could see you.
sweetie, you have Reaper code. You were starting to feel things. It's happening. And I just,
Robo puberty.
yeah, I have a lot of feelings about Legion. And he calls the upgrades a personal matter. And it's just, this is very unlike the Geth that we met in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, it's a lot of change. And, like, how did you choose to respond, by the way? I chose the more supportive Paragon response, because you can reprimand him as well. But, like, when I saw that response, I was
No,
like,
he's
why?
my pal. I get it.
Yeah, like, why would I reprimand him? Like, that's like someone coming to you with a deep secret they have that they're ashamed of. And like, if you yell at them, like, that's not how you help someone with their trauma or their secrets. That's not how that works.
That's my row buddy.
Row buddy.
Yes.
I love that. Perfect.
It's more, I wish you had felt more comfortable with me to tell me.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, it is what it is. And then we get Tally getting all emotional about Rannoch, and she says one of those beautiful things. I love when she gets poetic and deep in her feelings, because she says things like, our bodies carried the seeds that spread the desert grass.
Oh, yeah. This was such a good... The beginning of this mission before you get into shooty hallways is so expertly done. I mean, the whole conversation with Legion really primes up the decisions you're going to have to make later on.
Prime.
But yeah, and of course, anytime that Tali gets some focus, I mean, her and Rex are by far my favorite characters in the series, so it was like, yes, more of her on the screen, please, now.
Yeah.
I really loved that while Shepard and Tally are talking about building a home on the home world and how the Quarians have gotten used to carrying their homes with them, Shepard gives Tally a rock to carry around.
Yeah.
Big himbo move or herbo move, either way.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you want to carry your home here. Yeah, it is very much a himbo or hermbo or thembo move.
It was so cute. It was adorable. And, like, if you see FemShep do it, I'm like, that is so gay.
Yeah.
That is something a lesbian would do.
Good for them.
Good
for them.
Yeah. I can't remember where I was yelling about this recently. It might have been on a yet to air episode of Fun and Games, but yelling about how Tali and Cassandra, two separate franchises, but same idea. These are not straight women. It's just,
no.
They're not. It's not possible.
So someone designs these femme-presenting characters with an idea in mind, clearly, and puts it in front of the writers, and the writers are like, that's a straight woman. You're wrong. Every time, you're wrong. I don't know how you could be so consistently wrong, but you are. It's very upsetting. It's just, how do you look at characters like Tally and Cassandra and Cora and think, yeah, that's a straight woman?
For sure.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Right?
Obligatory bisexual haircut? Yeah, definitely. Asymmetrical bob? That's a straight woman. No.
Yeah.
Stop it.
No. Okay.
But this moment, I agree. Like, it really is really that was the minutia that I had forgotten. It was the giving Talia rock bit that was really great. Also, and I've said this 1,000 times this season, but like, I've always been a fan of Mark Meer, but like, he earns it in the third game. He's great in the first two, but there's something about his delivery, especially like I felt the friendship between this exchange in a way that I just hadn't felt in previous games. You feel the connection, and it's not sexual. There's no sexual. It's, you know, if you're not romancing her, it's very much platonic. Rock for you, friend. And I love that.
There is a definite fondness there, no matter what.
I mean, she's one of only 2 characters to have been on your party through all 3 games at that point. So,
yeah,
like, there's a reason her and Garrus are so close to the hearts of like every Mass Effect player.
Yep.
I found it really hard to take notes during like this entire thing.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
It's a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of shooting.
I will say though that I like the flow of the combat. I like. This sounds bad saying out loud, but I like killing the Geth. I like fighting the Geth because like the way they're designed for combat is really interesting, and especially as a Vanguard, there's just something super satisfying about charging in, doing my AoE explosion, and then just watching them ragdoll off the rail over the rails. And
I remember this being a particularly tough mission, like as a Vanguard, because there's multiple of the Geth like juggernauts.
Yep.
In the mission. So there's a point where you've got 3 or 4 of them out in a relatively confined area that's just some crisscrossing hallways suspended over, you know, whatever cliff edge. And I remember that I was doing a lot of grabbing the dropped like black hole guns and such to just kind of power through that fight. That was I recall that being maybe one of the hardest missions in the game for me, combat-wise.
I play on casual, so
Yeah.
No
I'm
shame.
sorry.
Perfectly
No,
valid.
no shame.
Nothing to
Yeah,
apologize for. The story's the good part of these games anyway, so.
That's true.
I had a moment where Garrus tried to devil's advocate about the Geth, about Legion having Reaper code. Just to be like, hey, I know Legion's on our side, but can we just take one tiny second to be like, Reaper code? And Tally shuts him down.
Yeah. We forgot to ask at the beginning of the mission, because I think we all assume at this point, did you have to take Tally?
Yeah.
We both took our boyfriends. I took Caden,
Yes.
and you took Garrus. And Caden does the same thing. And honestly, that plays into Caden's struggle with me and Cerberus earlier. Like, he clearly has trust issues. Like, that's just Caden in his character's core. And so, like, he does the same thing, and Tally shuts him down. And Shepard says, wow, you know, sticking up for Legion. I wouldn't have expected that from you, Tally.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I think it did a lot to reinforce for me that we did all the right things.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when we get to it, I had bated breath at the very end. Because I don't remember these games that well.
Things.
But yeah, we fight through the base, we take down the blast shields, and like the final fight that you were talking about, Derek, where you have to fight like the 2 or 3 primes and constant Geth turrets. Like, as a Vanguard, that's really tough, but also like I have I think it's something you get from Jack, maybe. I can't remember, but one of the talents you can pick is essentially a biotic Hadouken, and that saved me because I could get some distance from them. But yeah, I wasn't doing any charging in that section because like the minute you get near and one of those Geth primes,
you're done.
They wallop you and you're
Yeah, they
finished.
dog walk you. I mean, it's rough.
I use the Talon, so I get a lot of headshots in with my pistol, and it's done.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Actually, I started the mission, and I was like, why am I having such a hard time shooting these guys? I realized I was using the static gun still for some reason, and I was just like, oh, beans. I had to restart the mission so I could start it with the right gun. Because I was like, I am not doing this the entire time.
When I checked my loadout, my shotgun was unequipped. Like, I had no shotgun. I don't know why.
No.
So I'm glad I checked. But like, I was like, where did it go? It's literally the only gun I use as a Vanguard. How is it not equipped?
But yeah, once we get through that fight, then the Normandy strikes down and a Reaper rises up dramatically from underneath the base, and oof, cinematically thrilling.
So good. And like, I love this moment of like using the satellite tracker gun, which is always fun when a game gives you a gun to make a bigger gun fire.
Yes.
Like, I love that trope. They did it a lot in Gears of War also. Like, I love that. It's just always satisfying. And like, I tried, because I'm more of a cautious person now, I tried to do the targeting further back instead of at the edge. And I was like, I'm trying to be safe. They said, be safe. And it's not working. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. So I go walk to the edge of the platform, do it, and then fall. And I'm like, aha, I see. Okay, now I understand.
It's a bit of a janky boss fight. Like, I remember dodging the sweeping laser beam is a little awkward. And the feedback on the laser is a little weird at first. Like, I remember I tried clicking and it multiple times before I figured out that I needed to hold down and then hold down and then hold down for way longer, and then even after it seems like the animation's done, you need to hold it down a little longer than that, and it's just a little awkwardly timed. I don't know. It's a bit of a janky boss fight, but it's fun. Like, and it's narratively a big moment. So
Yeah.
I died once.
I died 4 times.
probably closer to that.
I got stuck on something while I was trying to dodge out of the way, and I just couldn't move. And because, like, the Reaper was right up on me, and I was, I guess, on the edge, I couldn't see where I was supposed to be, and everything had, like, really narrowed down. And because I was stuck in this space, everything narrowing in and getting that kind of tunnel vision really screwed me over because I couldn't see where I was supposed to be going to get out of the way.
You just got microwaved.
Yep, it was bad, but then I was able to, like, pull back a lot when I restarted it to be like, okay, this is the ground that I have. Let us be smart and zag on him.
Yeah, I died a lot because initially I kept thinking the mentality of like other bigger like attacks in the game and like, oh, I can just like at the last second I'll dodge right and I'll be fine. Nope. You have to be moving, running or dodging
You gotta do
multiple
that
times.
roadie run.
Yeah, and like the first time I did it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting the laser in. All right, I'm just a dodge fried. I was like, oh shit. Whoops. I also like right before this, we hinted at it, but like you get in the tank to escape with all your friends, and the Shepard's like, wait, pull over.
Pull over.
Yes.
Like, I got a plan.
What are you going to do? FemShep is 5'3" of nothing.
Yeah. I do appreciate, though, that when you get out of the tank and Legion wishes you luck, Shepard says affirmative.
Acknowledged.
Or acknowledged, yeah. And I'm like, ugh. I love this.
Because that's how the mission started.
Yeah, when I
coming back around.
It's notorious at this point that I have trouble remembering Mass Effect 3 because I played it less than all of the other games in the series. And so I knew there was a giant Reaper here, and I knew this was the fight where we used the satellite gun because I don't remember what it's actually called, so that's what I'm calling it.
Close enough.
But I didn't remember how the Reaper woke up, so it's all quiet, and then the laser, and I was like, oh, he big, he mad. Shit.
He's very angry. That first moment where he like rises up from the abyss and like you have crashed down and everything, you're supposed to run. I had this moment of like, what do I do now?
You're like, uh-oh.
I just stay here and like he can see movement, right? I just stay still.
Right, he's a T-Rex. He's a giant robotic T-Rex.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, after we take this Reaper down, with the help of the Quarian fleet, the Reaper can't help but to, like, have some final words with us.
Yeah, we talk to more Reapers when they're dying or not anywhere near us than any other time in this game.
I really didn't take any notes about the conversation because it was all shit that we learned from Leviathan, so I didn't care.
Renegade interrupt. Yeah. That's all I remember.
I asked the question of, like, explain what's going on. So yeah. I didn't get any interrupts.
Yeah, I asked that question. I didn't take any interrupts, but like, yeah, they just want to make everything better by destroying everything because that makes sense. My
favorite thing though is when the Reaper sees you and goes, Shepard, Harbinger talks about you. Like, oh, Harbinger must fucking hate me.
He hates your ass.
I'm just imagining Harbinger in deep space like motherfucking Shepard.
I almost had him, and then he zagged on me, and damn, that guy sucks.
I love how you can have, your this Reaper that you just defeated is giving the big villain monologue on its deathbed, and then having the option to take that Renegade interrupt. Because I'm like, look, I get what y'all are about at this point. I'm good. Like, cut the villain off mid-sentence and blow it up was a truly satisfying, one of those rare Renegade moments that I don't regret at all.
I wish I had done that.
Yeah. Because you just won. I don't even remember the one-line quip, but it's just like you blow it up and then something snappy. I don't remember, but it was great. I promise.
Yeah. I believe you. And then after that, we have to now make a decision.
Fuck.
And so we find out that Legion has made preparations to output the Reaper code to all of the Geth, giving them ostensibly complete free will, which would make them be able to decide for themselves and stop attacking. And Tali, while along and on board and loving Legion up to this point, is like, you can't do that. They'll destroy us. Now, before we get into the decisions we made in the conversations, first I want to say that the minute Legion brings this up and starts talking, solemnly and deeply about the Geth and how he wants to make them better, I already started tearing up. Like, I knew what was coming. But I do want to talk about a moment where Derek is streaming.
Oh, my fucking God.
Derek, please tell the story.
Yes. So, I want to preface this. I didn't know or remember from the mission descriptions, which is obvious because it's priority Rannoch. Like, obviously, that's the main mission. But for some reason, I thought I was doing the side mission before the main mission. I thought I was doing Geth Fighter Squadrons. So I did this before doing the Geth Fighter Squadrons. And you have to remember that I'm romanced to Tali. So I get to this end point, and I am 100% confident that I can pull this off. That I can pull off the best possible scenario. And I side with Legion. Because from my perspective, the Geth are in the right. Like, Admiral Geralt, you dumb shit, you have attacked a peaceful, sentient, allied species that you know you cannot defeat. Like, you and your entire military arm deserve what's coming to you. I don't want that, but if you make me choose, I'm gonna pick the Geth, you know? But I'm like, but it's okay, because we're gonna have, you know, we're gonna pull this off. I've done the,
I'm gonna pass the reputation check. It'll be fine.
Yes, it'll be fine, but I don't get the reputation check because I didn't finish the Geth Fighter Squadron mission. And I'm like, oh no, I've locked in to uploading to the Geth. So the Quarians get destroyed. And I kind of chuckle about this now in terms of me not doing my homework before I started this mission, but thinking I had this all pulled off, and then the Quarians getting destroyed, and then content warning, Tali committing suicide. Like, the character that I've picked a romance for with these two games, you know, it's a race that I'm still deeply invested in their cultural story. I'm like, oh, I fucked it bad this time. I was genuinely devastated on camera. Matt was watching. You can attest to this.
Yes.
This
correct.
wasn't even like funny me cracking jokes. It is the only time I broke my rule to load a prior save and do something again. It's the only time I broke my rule.
Yeah. It was wild to witness. And like, when we get to this point, because like you make the decision to support Legion, and then there's more conversation.
They kind of give you a couple options to back out. Like, hey, are you really sure this is what you want to do? And I'm like, no problems. I got this. I don't got this, it turns out.
Yeah.
And like this time, my heart was still in my throat because, you know, it takes a little bit before they give you the Paragon Renegade option to like get the best outcome. And like my heart was in my throat. I was like, because like me and MJ made an agreement through the suicide mission, through this game, you can lose people. They can die permanently. And if they do, that's it. That's your decision. That's how it goes. And so I knew if we screwed up here, I had to live with it. And like, I didn't know for a very long time that Tali would throw herself off the cliff if the flotilla blew up. But then when I did find out about it, I tried to do it just on a Renegade run, just to see it happen, to live with that moment, and I couldn't. Like, as soon as it happened, I fell horribly ill, and I was like, all right, I gotta go back. I can't do this. Like, I've made a lot of terrible decisions playing as a Renegade or as a careless Shepherd, but that's the only decision I can't live with. It's too
I think it's the hardest
horrifying.
And cruelest teammate loss in the entire franchise. I feel like
I would say so.
I don't think there's any other situation that feels that heart-wrenching. And the fact that it's almost completely unavoidable unless you do some very specific things. Yeah, I mean, it ends up, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people side with the Quarians just because they'd prefer to lose Legion than Tali, which is still not an easy thing to do at this point because they've been laying it on pretty thick with Legion, you know, in the lead up to this mission. So, yeah, I can't think of a single other death or potential death anywhere else in the franchise that feels that hard.
Yeah, I mean, even Morden's death, which is hard on a lot of people, it's a death that he chose and he sacrificed himself, like, with honor and dignity.
It's a heroic turn.
Yeah, whereas for Tali, it's done out of, like, desperation and horror and trauma.
Yeah.
So it's even harder
It's
to
just a moment of
experience.
pure grief, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, you've had Tali for 3 games. You haven't with Morden. You've had the opportunity to romance Tali. You obviously hadn't with, like, Morden. And most other characters' deaths get to be, like, an in combat or a going out in a blaze of glory doing the heroic thing. So it being just a moment of pure grief is really, really heavy.
From a meta standpoint, there are several things that you have to do in order to pull off the peace treaty, so to speak. One of the things is actually killing the Geth, not rewriting them. You have to rescue Admiral Chorus. You have to have Tally's loyalty. You have to have Legion's loyalty. You have to have done the Geth fighter squadron. And I think there was one other thing, and I can't remember what it is.
I don't think you have to.
You don't have to do all of those
but
things
it's a point system, and you got to do like almost everything.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I definitely
need to have acquired a total of 5 points, and each has a set number of points assigned to it.
Yep.
So I also rewrote, but because I made sure to have the loyalty, save Chorus, do the Geth fighter squadron, I did all those other things.
Yeah.
I was able to pass the reputation check.
So that's where with me not doing the fighter squadron put me 1 point below the threshold, I guess. And I was like,
right. But it's a possibility that if you had killed the Geth instead of rewriting them,
that'd still have been fine.
Would have passed.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird system.
It works.
I also managed to broker peace. Legion raises a good point. The Geth do not deserve to die because the Quarians couldn't live with the question that they were asked.
Yeah.
It's not the Geth's fault. I chose to rally the troops. And then the thing that really broke my heart was Legion starting to use personal pronouns. Yeah. Because Legion was finally at that point that they'd been building to this entire time.
Yeah.
And their sacrifice was beautifully done. It was on their terms, and it was to save their people.
Yeah, it's such a poetically beautiful moment, and like, it's heart-wrenching. Like, you're attached to this character. I've said it every Geth episode, but DC Douglas doesn't phone any of this in. He is just killing it, and he's always a great voice actor, but Legion, by this end moment, like, you really feel it. And what's really also brilliant is like in the moments after, when you're approached by a Prime, which of course Tali pulls her pistol out because
yeah,
trauma, you can't be too safe.
But like when it talks to Ron, it has DC Douglas is doing that performance too, and it has Legion's voice, but it's not Legion. And like that, even that moment with the Geth Prime, where it's like, Legion's sacrifice won't be in vain, they will be remembered. Like, this is so far outside of the starting point we had with the Geth. It's just such an expertly 10 out of 10 nailed wrap up to this story. Like, even with the Geth Prime and Ron talking at the end together, and like her looking up at him, hopefully, or what appears to be hopefully, I can't really see her face. Like,
there's hopeful music underneath.
Yeah.
But it fills me with such pride in that moment, you know?
Me too. I'm so happy for them. They're going to coexist. They're going to work together. Like, the Prime asks Ron, have you thought about where you want to settle? And Ron, like, well, the histories say that this particular section had excellent farmland. Like, they're talking about growing together and building a community together. And I have so many feelings about it.
If Mass Effect 4 does not start from the perspective of all of the best and most collaborative decisions were made over the course of the trilogy, I'm going to riot. Because I need this. I need this peace that's been brokered. I need this space communism. Let's go.
Yeah, and then we get to have one last like peaceful moment with Tali at the end. Like, she sits down on the edge of the cliff, and you sit with her, and like, your Shepard is ready to just let her go, live her life, be on her homeworld. And Tali insists that her job's not done, that she has to see this through. She wants to come with you.
Yeah, I was really happy about that. Of course, I took the Paragon routes because I don't want to make you leave your people in the homeland that you just claimed for yourself.
Yeah.
I know that this has been something you've been trying to do for 300 years. I would feel really shitty being like, okay, great, now you help me.
Yeah.
Like,
but what's
not
really
a cool
nice
thing.
though is like the Paragon and Renegade response at the very end of the conversation when Tali asks if she could be useful. The Renegade option is yes. Yes, you can come be useful. Like, it's not mushy. It's not it's just very frank, and I like that, and I feel like that's the answer I chose. I feel very core to my relationship with Tali. It's like Tali and Garrus are two of the most honest characters with Shepard. Like, they call Shepard on his or her bullshit often, not often enough, as we established, because Shepard still does very stupid things often.
Yeah,
but like, they are like two of the core, like, best friend characters, I would label. If you don't romance them, they are the closest friends that Shepard has, besides possibly the human survivor also.
This moment with Tali at the end, for me as FemShep, was so gay. I have to tell you. Because Tali is looking out on the landscape and she's talking about how beautiful it is. Shepard is looking at Tali and saying, yeah, it is. Gay.
Gay.
Like, that is the gayest thing. Why must you tease me so?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, male Shepard's not looking at Tali. He's looking out.
Yeah,
with Tali.
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Shep is looking at Tali.
Mass Effect could only be improved by making every romance option bi. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Thank you.
The fact that I can't romance my sweet boy Thane as male Shepard.
What is
crime.
up with that?
The way he besides not saying Sicha, literally the lines are the same 90% of the time between Thane as male Shep and Thane as fem Shep.
I'm just saying, do you see them kissable lizard boy lips? Do you see them? I'm just saying.
The eyes that you can drown in. Like,
yeah,
come on.
That boy was designed by a shoujo artist.
That he was designed by someone who understood the female gaze.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. God, that first time he lands and like he turns and the way his hips move, just
stop. That was hot.
But if we go on this tangent, the episode will never end. We'll just do it forever. So I'm going to rein us in. All in all, this is easily one of my favorite missions. It's hard to say if it's my favorite, only because I really love Tachanka as well. But like, it's up there as one of the top missions in the entire franchise. And I think the only thing that would put it over Tachanka is the two lead up missions, especially the Geth Fighter Squadron, is so integral that it builds this Geth narrative to completion that would put it above. But yeah, absolutely love this mission. Is phenomenal from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah, Rannoch and Tuchanka are the two highest points in Mass Effect 3 to me. They're up there with the suicide mission in 2. They're up there with Vermeer in 1. It's just such a critical point of the game, and it's
we did it.
You okay? Do you need a moment?
I'm good.
Okay. Normally a fandom corner goes here, but as you see in my outline, it says, I don't know, you're lucky you got an outline.
This is a heavy mission. Like,
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your fandom corner will be our continued tradition. Derek.
Yes.
Pick a character.
I'm going to go with Mordin.
We've had someone do Mordin before, because the question is, what songs have you completely memorized?
Yes.
I mean...
So we've answered this, but Derek, please, by all means.
Like, Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously, right?
I mean, I don't feel like that counts. I feel like everybody...
Right, I think that needs
Rhapsody.
to go without saying. Like, half the Beatles catalog, because I just grew up loving the Beatles. Half of Blue Oyster Cult's catalog, because I grew up loving Blue Oyster Cult, which is not necessarily what a lot of people expect. And then pretty much the entirety of the Clash's London Calling album is... I mean, I can belt that beginning to end.
Nice.
And be very hoarse by the end of it.
I'm going to put a twist on it for myself and Matt, because we've answered this before. But what is a song that you were surprised that you still know all the words to, Matt?
Oh, that's a good question. Because, like, I listen to a lot of music with intent right now, especially now at this point in my life, because, like, I used to have biases and be like, oh, yeah, you can't listen to pop music. Why? It's none of it's good. I tweeted the other day that people who are still ragging on Kesha and Carly Rae Jepsen in 2021 need to reevaluate their
you need
lives.
to grow the fuck up is what you need to do.
Who is doing that?
Because they're geniuses, and I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who comes for Kesha has to go through me first.
But actually, a Kesha song. It's... now I'm trying to remember the name.
I mean, if you know
Drug.
all the
Your
words...
Drug. I'm not singing the whole song. You're Drug from Kesha's first record. Like, I used to just play it to annoy my friend who couldn't stand Kesha because she was morally wrong. But like, then I started like putting it in my DJ sets, and now like the minute it comes on my dance DJ playlist, I belt it, the whole thing. Like, it's just love me some Kesha. What about you, MJ?
So recently I rediscovered a whole like cache of music from when I was in high school. Like songs that really got me through those tough years in Staten Island. And I was incredibly surprised that I still know every single word to Rooftops by the Lost Prophets. Lost Prophets are terrible and you should not support them. But that song does slap real hard though. And I would just like to acknowledge that they're awful, but that song does slap.
That's the eternal struggle.
It's the eternal struggle. Can't listen to them with a good conscience. Can't do it at all. But it came up in this, like, quest through forgotten music that I was experiencing. And, like, I don't know, my soul left my body and I was 16 again and like furious about something and just screaming the words. Oh my God. It was an experience. I highly recommend
Angry
it.
music really hits different when you're a teenager, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
I highly recommend finding something from your high school years that like got you through it and then playing it as loud as you possibly can and just
and just imagine beating
up
your high school bully, right? Like,
yeah, just,
for
like,
sure.
Get through it.
Go back in that headspace, allow it for 5 minutes and 35 seconds, and then move on.
It's really cathartic. It's good catharsis.
All right, well, that puts a wrap on this episode and on this mission. Our next episode will be Citadel 3 with Nick Luck. We're going to find out what the Asari counselor wants. Oh, I do want to add, actually, at the end of the mission, I did talk to, who is our grumpy general friend? Hackett. I did talk to Hackett, Admiral Hackett, right.
Oh, I did too, but he never says anything interesting.
No, but you like to hear that breathy voice.
Yeah,
Admiral Hackett.
But like, well, yeah, because every time Trainer will say Admiral Hackett's on VidCom, you'll talk to him and he'll have nothing to say. But he did have something to say for me. When I ended the conversation, he went, "Oh, by the way, Shepard, we've heard from your mother. She's safe. And more importantly, she's been promoted and is working on the Crucible with us."
That's because your mother's alive. My parents are dead.
Yeah.
My parents are dead.
Yes, they are.
That's a great thing to shout with such enthusiasm.
My parents were slaughtered on Minwar.
And so that was a really fun moment. She got promoted to Rear Admiral and she's helping build the Crucible. So, yay, Mom. And she also says that she's proud of me. And I was like,
I had feelings about a thing, and we'll
get
Can't wait for us to get to Citadel. Can't wait for us to get to Citadel.
I've never played the Citadel DLC, Derek, so I'm gonna experience it for the first time. Oh boy! So. Yeah, I know. And it has yet to be spoiled. So anyway, now we can do the proper wrap up. So as I was saying, we're going to be hanging out with Nick Luck in the next episode. It's a pretty chill episode where we're going to discuss some side missions and other things. So I'm excited about that.
We need a come down episode after all the Rannoch stuff.
Need a cigarette.
I would love for Derek to tell folks where they can find him on the internet. If Derek's voice sounds familiar, he did do an episode of Side Quests, the episode of Side Quests that got me into the Yakuza series on Yakuza
Yes.
0. If you haven't heard that, go to Fun and Games page.
I corrupted you.
You did corrupt me, and now I am playing through Yakuza 3, and let me tell you, the dad vibes in the first third of that game are just, Kiryu's a good dad.
Top shelf.
Good dad. Top shelf dad. But why don't you tell folks where else they can find you, Derek?
Yeah, you can currently find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Derby City Derek. That's DEREK. And then while I am not currently active as a part of SDGC, I was in the past and probably will be again in the future. And you should follow the fantastic folks at SDGC. That's official SDGC on Twitter and Twitch and any other such websites.
Awesome. And also, spoiler alert, we've got an upcoming Derek episode for side quests
Yes.
as well. In the
for
in
yet
the
another
future.
game that I could shout from the rooftops about that is truly under recognized in its greatness.
Yeah, I think I'll probably just come back to you every 6 months to a year and just be like, hey, you got another one? Because
Yeah.
I know you've got a whole sleeve of them, I'm sure.
I have a laundry list of grievances.
Well, if you like what you heard here, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. We're also facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email, reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server and join in the conversation. Conversations like talking about Andromeda behind my back in a thread I can't see, as well as talking about Citadel in the spoiler tags so I don't see it, since I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Oh, man. It's gonna be a time.
Oh, yes.
Matt and I also have some other stuff to talk about. We work on some other projects. My main personal plug is just reminding you that my husband is kind enough to let me use his P.O. Box. If you would like to send us letters or cards, please send that to P.O. Box 4288 in Dunellen, Dunellen, New Jersey, 08812. And I will send you a sticker in return.
Do it. You can find me in a lot of places. I do too much. The thing I want to plug the most is my interview series, CPOV Autographs. It recently jumped onto the website, one of my few podcasts that weren't a part of the network until recently. I do some really great interviews with some really fascinating and incredible people. Some of them, well-known actors, and others like barely known indie creators. And I think that the conversations are quite well done, and you'll really get a kick out of it. If you want to check out all the other stuff I do, the best place to go is www.djstormageddon.com, or follow me on Twitter at DJ_Stormageddon.
We'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble, featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Nolenko. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Case Aiken for developing more amazing t-shirt designs like what is it? Shepherd's 7.
Shepherd's N7.
Yes, which is an Ocean's 11 inspired t-shirt that he created.
I love that shirt. I have it.
Because he's a genius. We have various shirts about our space mom and space dad. Yeah, you can go to certainpov.com or to Teespring for those shirts.
My favorite shirt that we have, there's two. There's one of my face that says, "You're preaching to my very specific choir."
It's good.
And then there's one of my face and Garrus's face that says, "Is it kissing time yet?"
Also very good. And a question you often ask.
Is it kissing time yet? It should be kissing time now. I'd like to also thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. And lastly, to Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
And I'm Derek Van Dyke. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.